Today we're going to be talking about an issue that has taken the planner world by storm. It might be bigger than the P. Diddy scandal and anything associated with the 2024 presidential election. Okay, maybe that's taken it a bit far, but it's huge. The topic of the new 2025 Hobonichi planner paper is huge, and there are some really intense feelings about this. So today I want to talk about it. I've got 3 of the 2025 Hobonichi planners. I've got several of the previous Hobonichi planners. So let's talk about the paper. Go grab your planners and let's get planning. All right, so if you've spent any time in online forums that talk about Hobonichi planners, then you have probably seen the storm of upset feelings and debate and arguments and violation of community rules, all kinds of things associated with the Hobonichi paper. People are really upset or defensive or just having a hard time with change because Hobonichi as a company has changed the paper that is in their planners. Let me give you the backstory on this issue. Hobonichi has always used a paper called Tomoe River paper. I think I'm pronouncing that correctly. It's a very unique paper in that it's thin, but it's very absorbent because fountain pen friendly. So you get to have this really great thin paper planner, so it doesn't bulk up so much. It's not like 160 GSM, right? You get to have this thin paper planner, but you also get to use your thicker, watercolors or fountain pen inks in there, and it can safely handle that. There have been changes. So the provider of the paper no longer provides that paper, and they have had to switch over to a different style of paper called Sanzen Tomoe River paper. Now, the company Hobonichi boasts on their website that this paper is meant to be more absorbent and high quality. However, the planner community has been going quite nuts about it. It's been quite the hullabaloo because people are saying that there is more bleed through, it's more transparent, it's not as good quality. So here's what I'm going to do today. I have gathered a huge stack of my own favorite markers and pens. And I thought that I would just kind of dive into testing out using a 2022 Hobonichi Techo A6 that I just happen to have left over, and a Hobonichi Cousin 2023 that I really did not use at all, maybe a few pages, compared to the 3 Hobonichi 2025 products that I have, the Cousin, the A5 Cousin, the A6, and the Hobonichi Weeks. And I thought I would just kind of do a comparison of the different pens that I have and talk about the paper and see what I get to. There are probably going to be unique feelings about the paper. So the way I feel about the paper may not be the way you feel about the paper, and I certainly don't want to cause an emotional debate as I have seen in some other arenas around this topic. But hopefully we can just share information here with this little test and see if we can figure out what the excitement is all about. All right, so I've got the 2025 planners here. I've got the 2023 and 2022 planners here. I've got them opened almost to the same page. So it's the last page before the timetable in the Cousin and the A6 Avec. The weeks is a little different. This is the 2025 weeks. Actually, I think I have an older week. Let me go grab another weeks. All right, so I was able to grab this is a 2024 weeks and a 2025 weeks. I had to go to a slightly different page. It's just a random notes page in the back, but we should be able to do the comparison. So let's just talk about feel and look first. Before we get into any of the pens, let's just talk about feel and look. As you can see, in both the 2024 and the 2025, the Hobonichi Weeks has a slightly more off-white color paper than the A6 or the A5 Techos. This is on purpose by Hobonichi, and you can actually, if you read the information on the Hobonichi website, the Hobonichi Weeks is meant to be, based on its size, to be a very on-the-go style planner. And even as you can see, it's about midday where I am, and there's a window right there and lots of sunlight coming in. You can see there's somewhat of a glare on the very white pages of these planners, whereas you can see the grid a little bit better on these pages. That is intentional because Hobonichi feels like this is an on-the-go planner. You're more likely to be outside or in sunshine with this planner, whereas these are probably sitting on the desk more. And so that's intentional. That's the point. I don't mind that at all. If you don't like off-white paper, then that will probably bother you. But for me, just fine. The feel of the paper is the same. The weight, I cannot tell any difference in the feel of the paper. It feels exactly the same to me. So the Weeks does. Now let's talk about the A6. So the paper appears to be the same color. The grid is the same. I can't really visually see any difference in this paper. The feel of the paper, it does feel different, slightly. This is going to be hard to describe. Okay, so let me get this page. Okay, this 2025 paper feels ever so slightly thicker, just barely. I mean, it's really hard to even say thicker. There's just a little bit more weight to this 2025 than there is to this one, which is a 2022. I also feel like a slicker coating on the 2025 than I do on the 2022. If I compare that to this Hobonichi cousin is a 2023, those actually feel the same. This feels like the same coating on those two. So perhaps that was a change made in 2023 from the 2022 paper. But as far as color goes, and same thing, these feel the exact same to me as far as texture, weight, coating, feel exactly the same. I'm actually going to make myself a cheat sheet because I feel like I keep mixing it up. So let me grab one of these pens. So now we have all of our names established. We can get to the comparison. All right. My favorite pen to use in the Hobonichi planners has always been the Uni Jetstream Multipen. It is a ballpoint pen. It writes amazing on all. It has always written amazing. No smudging, no bleed through, all of that. I understand not everybody loves a ballpoint pen. I love this because, number one, it's a very thick barrel. I like a thick barrel on the pen. And I think the ink writes excellent. The refills are very easy to get. I will have it listed down below so that if you're interested, you can go grab it. But this has always been a great pen. So I'm going to write out the name of the pen and talk about sort of the comparison among all of them. Okay, absolutely fine writing on the 2024 Weeks. I feel like the 2025 Weeks is going to be the same. Yeah, feels great. No, it's not too grippy. Writes very smooth. There's no smudging, like immediately dries. That's the other thing I like about this. And as far as the ghosting, so you can see there, it looks very even to me. The 2025 ghosting looks pretty much the same as the 2024. I don't see a lot of difference there. There is some ghosting, but that's always the case with Hobonichi paper. So I really don't see a lot of difference. As far as ridging, I will say the ridging, meaning I can rub on the paper on the backside and feel where the pen made contact to the paper. It's a little more pronounced in the 2025 weeks. Okay, so that's my favorite pen in the weeks. Let's do the Avec and the A6s. So okay, absolutely no smudging on either one, dries immediately, writes smoothly. I don't really feel any difference between 2022 and 2025 here. Let's flip over and look at the back. Again, I can't really see any difference in the ghosting. There is some ghosting. There's always ghosting with Hobonichi paper. I really don't see any difference. Ridging. The ridging is a bit more pronounced with the 2025. There's definitely more ridging. Okay, now let's do the cousins. Okay. Feels exactly the same. The 2023 and the 2025 cousin feel exactly the same to write on. So no smudging, dries very quickly. All right, let's look at ghosting. I really can't tell a difference. They look, I mean, if anything, maybe the 2023 is a bit more ghosty, but honestly, I can't really tell much difference at all. Ridging, once again, I think this newer paper, the newer cousin, has a bit more of the ridging than the older. But for the Uni Jetstream, which again is my sort of favorite pen to use in these planners, I would say that there's very little, if any, difference between the two versions of the paper. Now, I will give a little bit of a caution here because I know folks are going to say this in the comments. I know some of the complaint has been that like there are random bad pages. So obviously I can't test for that. I'm not going to go page by page and test every one, but so I'll just give you my thoughts based on this last page, which is kind of the identical page in each planner. I'll give you my thoughts there, and we'll use that for this test. But just know that some folks have commented that there are bad pages kind of throughout the planner. I haven't come across that in the new planners as I've been flipping through them, but that has been reported. Okay, so this pen is a winner for me. Again, it's always, this is why I have so many of this pen. I have this pen in so many colors because it is just the perfect pen for these Hobonichi planners. And they do come in some awesome colors. Okay, let's try the Pentel Energel Clena. I know this is a favorite among planners. Lots of folks like to use these. Let's try this pen in these planners. So I'll go ahead and write and do a quick test of drying time. Okay, interesting. With the Energel Clena on the 2024 weeks versus the 2025 weeks, when I finished writing and smudged, you can see a little smudging. However, same movement, no smudging. So that's interesting. That's a difference. Let's check out the ghosting. I cannot tell a difference. I really cannot tell a difference there, and ridging more pronounced here. And I think that's going to be the case. I probably won't continue to say that every time because I think that's going to be the case. You're just going to have more ridging in the 2025 paper. Okay, so that's the results of the Energel Clena on the weeks. Let's do it on the A6. Okay, for this one, there's actually about equal amount of smudging for each one. I don't see a significant difference in the smudging. They both smudge just a tiny bit. If you waited, you know, a realistic 30 seconds, I don't think you would have a smudging problem at all. And then for ghosting, I don't really see a difference. Yeah, I don't really see any difference at all there. Okay, and then let's do the Energel Clena here on the 2023 cousin and the 2025. Interesting. Okay, for the cousin, what I found is that there was a bit more smudge in the 2023, no smudge in the 2025. So definitely drying faster on the new paper. For ghosting, I don't really see a difference. All right, so for the Clena, good news for the Clena users, if you are looking to use the 2025 paper, it appears as though the 2025 paper does help with dry time on the Clena. It seems to be less smudging, at least what I found in the 2025 A5 Cousin Han and the 2025 Weeks, less smudging going on. So good news for Clena users, those who love that pen. Okay, next up, let's try the Muji. I love a good Muji gel pen. This is a 5.0. It's one of my favorite pens. I'm going to be trying that in all of these. Okay, so in the 2024 Weeks, it's just a big old smudgy blur. You really can't read that at all, and that's why I don't really use this or many gel pens at all. In the 2025 Weeks, though, I will say there is a lot less smudging going on with the Muji, which tells me if you waited like a reasonable, 30 seconds after writing, you would probably have less smudging. So good to know. Let's look at ghosting. I would say it's about the same. I don't see a really significant difference between the two papers. So, all right, that's the Weeks. Let's try the 2022 versus the 2025 A6. Okay. About the same smudge factor on both in this case. So there's your smudge factor. Maybe the 2022 is even a little better than the 2025. And let's look at ghosting. About the same. I can't really tell a difference. Okay, and then let's do the cousins. Oh, big difference. Okay. In the 2023 cousin, you have major smudge factor going on with the Muji. In the 2025 cousin, that's a lot less. Again, which tells me if you waited, 30 seconds, you would probably not have a problem with smudging in this pen. Let's look at ghosting. I don't really see much difference. So for the Muji, I think in some cases, you're in a little better position with, less smudging on the new paper, which kind of brings Muji back into play. Muji has not really been an option for me to use in the Hobonichi cousins and on the Tomoe River paper because it's just been so smudgy, like it just would never dry and it would be a mess. I'm not very patient, but I think I could wait probably 30 seconds. So this could actually be an option where, for me personally, it has not been in the past. All right, next up, let's try the good old-fashioned Pilot G2. Good gel pen. Lots of people like it. I don't, but lots of people do. So let's try that. Woo! Smudge Fest. Yeah. Big old smudge fest. No matter which paper we're talking about, it is smudgy. And that's just, you know, Pilot G2s are very juicy gel pens. Let's look at ghosting. I can't tell much of a difference. Maybe on camera it's showing up differently. I'm interested to go back and watch this video and look on the camera, but here in person, I'm not seeing a ton of difference. All right, let's try the A6s. Smudge Fest. Actually not as bad. That's really not as bad. The 2025 A6 is not nearly as bad with the smudging. It's still really bad. And I probably would never use it, but it is a little better. All right, let's look at ghosting. Hard to tell. Not much difference to my eye. All right, and then let's do the cousins. Not as bad. Okay, so similar to the A6, the 2023 cousin smudges terribly. The 2025 cousin is not smudging as bad. It's still smudgy. I mean, that's still, I would not want to write things in my planner and have it come out like that, but it is a lot less. It's not nearly as smudged as previous paper. And once again, I can't tell much difference from the back. All right, so Pilot G2, I would say even with improved, reduced smudge factor in the new paper, I would not recommend using the Pilot G2 in the Hobonichi paper because it just smudges. It's too juicy of a pen. Okay, let's try the Sharpie S Gel. I have a feeling this is going to be a similar story. Woo, like painting. Oh, interesting. You know what? I got to do that again just to make sure that wasn't some sort of weird occurrence. Yeah, still pretty bad. I'm glad I did it twice. I don't know what happened there. Maybe I got a lot of the juiciness out in this first one and, you know, it was just less juicy on the second one, but still a lot of smudge. Not as much on the 2025 paper, but still a lot of smudge. And then here's the back view. Okay. Let's do the A6s, 2022 versus 2025. Okay, yeah, smudge fest. Definitely like illegible, terrible black paint swatch. And there's the back view. All right, and then let's try the cousin. Wow. Okay, let's try that again. Interesting. Okay. Boy, this is proving to be pretty inconsistent. I think this is what I've heard too. So somehow on the Hobonichi cousin 2025, Sharpie S Gel is not really smudging that much. I mean, in 2023, it's just like a black paint swatch, but I'm gonna do it again. I'm gonna do it again because that's so weird. Wow. How is it possible? I mean, that is kind of amazing that it's not smudging. And what's really weird about it is smudging in the 2025 A6 version of the planner and the weeks. Okay, Well, interesting finding. Perhaps if you waited a minute, you could actually use this. So let's give it a minute to dry and see what happens. No smudging. Wow. That is just a really interesting finding. Okay, but look what happens. Let me do a smiley face here, just so we get a good comparison. So you've got, like, with the smiley face, you've got sort of like dots, you know, you're making those dots. Look at the back. So this is probably the first time I see a difference, and I'm gonna zoom in as much as I can. That is more ghosting than I am accustomed to seeing. And it's almost, if I bring it up, maybe you can see, it's almost like that little dot is threatening to bleed through, which I've never seen. And even you can see on some of the letters, like here on the P, and here where I'm ending letters and the ink is sort of pooling a bit, it's threatening to bleed through. That is definitely not the case over here. However, it does dry, which never in a million years would I think that you could use a Sharpie. Let me zoom back out a bit. That you could use a Sharpie S Gel in a Hobonichi planner. But the smudge factor is way lower, so it is drying faster. So, did not expect that. That's interesting. And the fact that it doesn't act the same across the different planners is also very interesting here. So, this is not how I expected this pen test to go. Okay. Pilot Dr. Grip. I think I've got a couple of versions of this here. I think I'm going to use the multi-pen version. I really got into the Pilot Dr. Grip this year. I'm going to use the multi-pen version because this is the one I'm probably more likely to use. This is the Pilot Dr. Grip 4-in-1. So let's do Dr. Grip. Interesting. Okay. The smallest little baby amount of smudge there. Small. If you waited 5 seconds for the 2024 weeks, it would not have smudged. No smudge here. No waiting, no smudge in 2025. And then let's look at it from the back. Okay. All right. And then let's go with the 2022 and the 2025. Okay, I don't really see any smudging in either one of these, the 2022 or the 2025. And this is what it looks like from the back. Okay. And then for the cousin, a little bit of smudging there. Almost imperceptible amount of smudging there. Tiny, just a tiny little bit. If you waited 5 seconds, I don't think you would have that, but definitely some smudging there. And then from the back, this is the view. Okay. So I think Dr. Grip is still a very good, this Dr. Grip is still a very good option. It does require just a few seconds, not much though. And in all cases, I have used this in the past too. Not quite as much as I have my Uni Jetstream, but definitely this is an option to use in the Hobonichi planners. Okay. People love the Uni-Ball One, so let's try the Uni-Ball One. Woo! Smudge Fest in the 2024 weeks. Not as bad in the 2025 weeks. That's not as bad. If you waited a little bit, I'm thinking that might be better. These Uni One pens tend to be pretty juicy, so that's interesting that it's drying faster. And there's the view from the back. Let's look at the A6 22 versus the 25. Okay. Smudging in both cases. I did pick up the pen just for a second there, so a little less smudging there, but smudging either way. And then there's the back view. All right, and then let's do the 23 cousin versus the 25 cousin. Not as much smudging there. So I think it actually could dry if you gave it a few minutes versus here. I think it would be wet all day. And let's see the back. Okay, now I don't see as much. I was thinking that this one might be similar to the Sharpie S Gel, but I don't see as much ghosting here as I did with the Sharpie S Gel, and I don't see any points where bleed was happening. But there's your back view. All right, so I would say the Uni One, while it is a lovely gel pen for some papers like the Stology and others, it's probably not one that I would ever choose to use in the Hobonichi planners. All right, let's do a Sarasa. So this is the Zebra Sarasa. It's one of my very favorite pens. All right, so definitely some smudging in the 2024 weeks. A little tiny bit in the 2025. I think if you waited, you could easily have this dry. So that's good news for the Sarasa. Here's the back view. All right, and let's try the A6. Okay, smudging is not bad with the Sarasa in either one of these. That's actually pretty good for both of them. I think if you, in the 2022 and the 2025, if you let them dry, I think they would be fine. And then there's the back view. And then let's try the cousins. I feel like the cousins keep throwing, you know, the curveballs here. So, smudgy, no smudge. So definitely smudgy in the 2023, no smudge in the 2025. And then let's look at the back view. There's the view from the back. Okay, so I think Sarasa is definitely an option. You may need to be a little bit more patient, but in the 2025 paper, it seems to be performing really well. Let's move on to some markers. So I grabbed a couple of Tombos, black and a purple, and then I grabbed a couple of dot markers because those are the markers that I generally use, you know, in these planners pretty frequently. Let's start with the dot markers. I've actually got two different brands and two different colors. I grabbed the lighter yellow in the Zig Clean Color Dot, and I grabbed a darker pink in the Shuttle Art version, just to see how different brands and different colors react. So let's do dot of yellow. Okay, so there is some smudge there. This may be hard to see, but there is some smudge there. You know, it's a marker, so you got to give it a little time to dry really on any paper. A little bit of smudge there. And then let's do the pink, which is a darker color. And I kind of want to even get a darker color than that. Let me grab one more. I'm just going to get the black Zig dot marker. So, okay. So you can see pretty much in all cases, you've got smudging going on. You're going to have to give markers time to dry regardless of the year of paper. Okay, and then let's look at the back. Okay. I do think that the marker is coming across a little darker. If you compare it there to there. I mean, it's so slight though. It's really so slight. But I do feel like it's coming through a little louder on the back of the 2025 paper. All right, let's try the A6s. Let's do the 2022. Woo. You know, it's interesting, the shuttle art marker in all of the cases so far has smudged less. And I think that's because less ink is coming out of the shuttle art marker, whereas the zigs are really juicy. There's less ink that comes out. The dot tends to be smaller. See, it's not smudging at all right there. But there's less ink coming out of the shuttle art. So that one didn't smudge either. Okay, here's the sort of the smudge view, way smudgier on the 2022 paper. And now let's look at the back. I'll just show you what that looks like. I personally cannot tell a difference. All right, and then let's do the curveball planners. Okay, so black, shuttle art pink, and yellow. Okay, so same with here. You're getting less smudging going on in the 2025 paper than the 2023 paper. And then let's look at the back. There's the 2025 paper. I see this threat of ghosting, of bleed through there with the pink and the yellow. I see some threat of bleed through on that paper. And then here, nothing close to bleed through. So interesting. I do see the threat. If you got a little too heavy with your dot markers, you could experience bleed through on this 2025 paper. All right, and finally, let's test out some Tombos. Everybody loves Tombos. Oh, I wanted to do zebra markers too. Let's do zebra markers too. I'll grab an orange and a purple. Okay, so we'll do these as our last four. Let's start with the purple Tombow. I'm going to do that again because I did wait a minute. Okay, little tiny bit of smudging there, not much smudging there. I will say it's interesting that the color seems to be showing up a bit more. Let me do it one more time, just looking at the color. I don't know. It almost seems like the color is more vibrant on this paper. So that's interesting. Okay, so smudging, not really a factor on either one. Let's do black. A little bit of smudging with the black. A little bit of smudging with the black. And let's do some zebras. A little bit of smudging. No smudging. And then let's do the purplish blue one too. Smudging. No smudging. Interesting. Okay, so no smudging over here with the zebras, which is good to know. Again, I almost feel like there's a slight difference in the way the color is showing up on the 2025 paper. Let's take a look at the back. And there's the comparison of the back. I don't see a lot of difference there, but you be the determiner of that. Okay, let's do the A6, the 2022 paper versus the 2025 paper. We'll start with the purples. Little bit of smudging there. No smudging. And the black. Smudging. Smudging. Interesting that the different colors smudge differently. Orange. Little bit of smudging. Orange zebra, no smudging. Blue, smudging. Little bit of smudging. Okay, so that's the Tombow and Zebra Mild Liner comparison. You can see black is smudging. Little bit of smudging on the purple Tombow, but I think if you waited, it would be fine either way. Little bit of smudging on the blue Zebra Mild Liner. And here, the colors are showing up the same. So, I don't understand. Why? How can the 2025 paper in one size be different than the 2025 paper in another size? It's very odd. Oh yeah, let's look at the back. There's the back view. I don't see a lot of difference there. All right, and the finale, grand finale for this guy. 2023 paper. A little bit of smudging. No smudging. A lot of smudging. Very little smudging, so almost no smudging there. Zebra Mild Liner, a little bit of smudging. No smudging. Little bit of smudging. No smudging. And even, that's interesting because just the way I left the pin there for a second, it even kind of puddled there a little bit, but no smudging at all for the Zebra Mild Liners. So you can see for the 2025 paper, just a tiny bit of smudging on the black Tombow, but the Zebra Mild Liners and the purple, no smudging. Smudging on all of these for the 2023. Let's take a look at the back view. Here's the 2025 paper. I see at that bottom line the blue Zebra Mild Liner where I said it kind of puddled a little bit. It's the threat of bleed through. Versus here where you don't have any of that. So, what do we make of all this? The first thing that really strikes me as odd and something I did not expect, even though I had read it, I had heard it from others, there is an inconsistency happening among the 2025 paper that is just downright confusing. How can the A6 Hobonichi Han in the same print, it's like the same planner, have different paper and different results than the A5 Han? I thought it was the same paper. So that's odd to me. I mean, there's some differences in how the paper is responding that I can't explain that. And even to the weeks, you know, it's just the 2025 Tomoe River paper in the Hobonichi planners is not all the same. And so that does make me question the consistency in the single planner. If it's different from planner to planner, is it going to be inconsistent from within the planner? Interesting. I think for me, my favorite pen to use in Hobonichis is still this Spaver pen. It performs the same across all of them. It's a ballpoint pen. I can get it in all kinds of sizes from 0.3 to 1.0. It's easily available on Amazon in a ton of super cute colors. So I'm going to keep right on using this one, and I don't anticipate having a lot of problem. I do wonder how watercolor will perform in this new paper. The drying time does seem to be consistently better in the 2025 paper. However, that little hint of the possibility of bleed through on the heavier pens, the more juicier pens and markers in the 2025 paper makes me wonder how it will hold up to watercolor, because one of the things I have loved about the Hobonichi in the past is the ability to watercolor on it and just basically pour water on it and really, get into it. Now, it would take forever to dry, but the end product would be beautiful and it would not destroy the integrity of any other page behind it. So I wonder if that's going to be the case. I don't have time today to do a watercolor test, but maybe that is a future video if you guys are interested. I really hope you found this helpful. I know that so many people are talking about this, asking about it, doing their own tests and photos. I just thought I would do it for myself. So I would have a good idea, and I happen to have a smattering of Hobonichi planners to compare. So I hope you found this helpful. Leave your comments down below. All the supplies will be listed in the description box. Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it to let me know, and subscribe to Planning Annie for more content like this. As always, thanks for planning with me.